In order to understand Iran in its contemporary characteristic, it is important to also give a historical context. Of course, we now know that there is dissatisfaction with the Ayatollahs and their theocracy. But it is important to remember that the history of Iran as we know it today must be traced to as early as 1925 with the Pahlavi regime. And if one does not drown in history, after the establishment of the Pahlavi regime, we then had the famous or infamous coup in 1953, which removed the Pahlavis before they restored themselves. And after that, the agitation by the Ayatollahs led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. And that is how in 1979, the Americans now come into the fore a lot more visibly during the administration of Jimmy Carter. And you remember it is during that period that there was a siege of the American embassy for 444 days. And 52 American diplomats were held, blindfolded, and of course humiliated. And I think the United States of America has never forgotten that humiliation. And in as much as the Ayatollahs then came into office with the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini becoming the spiritual leader, and we had different presidents, Rafsanjani, Rouhani, and then late Ahmadinejad. And what one saw was the demand by the Ayatollahs that there is only one way of running Iran, through a theocracy. And then the accusation that they were trying to be a nuclear power, and their closeness initially to the Soviet Union and to Russia. So there has been a combination of issues. And that, of course, very quickly led to a number of issues leading up to the Iraq-Iran war between 1980 and 1988. And after that, the economies started suffering, despite the reforms that were instituted, particularly during the populist administration of Ahmadinejad, attempts to use oil to improve the quality of people's lives. And after that, of course, during the Rouhani administration, when the nuclear deal was entered into between the Europeans and the Americas, and things never quite normalized, and the repression of the people. You have a society which is aware of what is happening in the world, the freedoms that are enjoyed by everybody or most people in different parts of the world, and a theocracy which wants to dictate what you wear, the place of women in society. And that is how in the year 2022, when the young lady Mahsa Amini dies in prison, that was when we saw people coming out into the streets of Tehran and other places. And there is a sense in which this is a continuation of what started in the year 2022. The people had conquered fear. But right now, the situation is exacerbated because of the sanctions. The Iranians cannot sell their oil freely. The Iranians cannot access the markets freely. They cannot borrow, and their currency has been devalued in a manner that has never been seen in many parts of the world. And that has made the people begin to rise up. And they are rising up on a number of issues. They are saying we want greater freedoms. They are saying the economy is so bad that we want to see improvement. But the reality is that the economy cannot improve.